In this video, we will learn about some basic networking concept. Here, I will explain what is public IP address, what is private IP address, and what is CIDR range. Actually, IP addresses are classified into two types. One is private IP address and second is public IP address. Public IP address of a system is used to communicate outside the network, and public IP address uniquely identify the device in the internet world. On the other hand, private IP address is used inside one local network to communicate within same network only. We cannot communicate with any other network or internet via private IP address. This diagram here represents how do we set up the local network in general and how devices within this local network can talk to the internet. Here in this example, this dotted line actually represents the local network, and all the devices in this local network are connected to this router. This router has assigned the private IP addresses to these devices, and all these devices can communicate with each other via these private IP addresses. Private IP address assigned to any device uniquely identify the device within this local network only. It does not identify your device outside this local network. Whenever any of these devices needs to talk to the internet, then request must be routed via router. It is like if you want to talk to google.com via any of these devices, then device first talks to the router and then router talks to the internet on behalf of the device. Since router talks to the internet, so unique public IP address is assigned to both the routers. Similarly, response from the google.com first comes back to the router and then router forward the same response to the corresponding device from which it received the request. Here, this router is connected to both local network via this private IP address and to internet via this public IP address. Private IP address of any device is never exposed to internet, or in fact, private IP address remains internal to its local network only. So, these private IP addresses are also known as internal IP address. In such local network, any device inside the local network can talk to the peer device via the internal IP address, but any device outside this local network cannot talk to these devices via the private IP address assigned to these devices. These private IP addresses are reusable, and most routers create a private network by starting IP address with 192.168. It means other local networks can also use the same private IP address space to uniquely identify the device in their respective network. So here, both network 1 and network 2 use the same private IP addresses for the devices in their respective network, but both are different private networks altogether. If any device needs to make a call to outside its private network or to internet, then that device needs a public IP address. Like here, if your laptop is assigned a public IP address, then your laptop can directly make a call to Google Cloud API, which is exposed over internet. But this will make your laptop vulnerable to hacking from an unwanted attacker, because now your laptop is reachable over internet via the public IP address which is assigned to this laptop. But if you use router in between to communicate over internet, then your router provides a layer of security for your devices in your local network. In this case, only device that is connected to internet is the router. All other devices in your private network are not reachable from internet, and all good router comes with the default firewall configuration to block the unwanted inbound traffic. If you are developing a three-tier web application, then only load balancer has the public IP address, and all other servers in your application are assigned private IP address just for the same security reason. If you do not use load balancer, then the web server is assigned a public IP address, and all other internal application server and database servers just have the private IP address only.